Robinson Crusoe, adapted for English language learners at level A2 by Story Steps. Chapter 5. Building a Home. The next morning, the sea was calm and the sun bright. From the beach, I could still see the broken ship on the sandbank. The tide was low, and I knew it might soon sink. "One last trip," I said. "I must take what I can before it is gone." I built a stronger raft, tying planks tightly together. After that, I waited for the tide to rise and pushed into the water. The sea was quiet, and the wind carried me easily. When I reached the ship, I climbed aboard for the final time. The inside was full of water now, and the smell of salt and rot filled the air. Still, I searched carefully. In one room I found boxes of nails, a small barrel of gunpowder, and tools I had missed before. In another, I discovered fishing lines, hooks, and rope. I also found some strong cloth, a few biscuits, and cheese. My greatest prize was a dog that had survived on the wreck. When I called softly, it wagged its tail and came to me. I lifted it into the raft. "We are both lucky," I said. When I returned to the beach, I carried everything to my hiding place. I dried the gunpowder carefully and stored it inside a cave. The dog followed me everywhere. I was glad to hear another heartbeat beside my own. After that day, the sea grew rough again. A week later, the ship broke apart in a storm and was gone forever. I watched the pieces float away, feeling thankful I had saved so much. I now had food, water, clothes, tools, and guns, but I needed a real home. I could not sleep under rocks forever. I decided to build a safe place to live, part house, part store. First, I searched for the best spot. I wanted a place near fresh water and not far from the sea, but high enough to be safe from floods. After 2 days, I found a small flat area at the foot of a steep hill. Behind it was solid rock, and in front, a small open field. "This will be my home," I said aloud. I carried my things there, one load at a time. It took many days. I began to build. I cut long branches and pushed them deep into the ground in a half circle. Between them, I put smaller sticks to make a wall. It was hard work, but I did not stop. When the wall was finished, I covered it with leaves and grass. It looked rough, but it kept out wind and rain. To make myself safer, I built a fence in front of the wall with sharp-pointed sticks. I left only one small opening, which I closed at night with a heavy plank. Inside, I placed my tools and food. I made a bed of dry grass and covered it with clothes from the ship. I set up a table and stool from flat pieces of wood. Slowly, my house began to look like a real home. One morning, I saw a small cave in the rock behind my house. I made the entrance wider and went inside. It was cool and dry, perfect for storing food and gunpowder. I brought all my supplies there. The cave became my storeroom, and the fenced area outside was my living space. Each day, I worked on something new. I built shelves for tools and guns, and a place to hang my clothes. I dug a small hole in the ground to keep things cool. When I looked around at night, I felt proud. "I have a house, a cave, and a fence," I said. "I am no longer lost. I am living." But work never ended. I needed firewood every day, and I had to hunt for food. I went to the forest with my gun and found wild goats. The first shot missed, but the second brought one down. I thanked God and carried it home. I used its skin for a mat and saved the meat for many days. Sometimes I roasted meat over the fire. Other times I dried it in the sun so it would last longer. The smell of cooking filled the air, and I began to feel less afraid of hunger. The dog sat beside me, waiting for his share. He was my companion and my guard. When he barked at night, I knew danger was near. Still, nights were often hard. Strange sounds came from the forest, cries, footsteps, and moving leaves. Once, something large moved near the fence. My heart beat fast. I held my gun and waited. In the morning, I saw only goat tracks. I laughed and said, "You frightened me, my friend." Each day, I thanked God for my safety. I began to speak aloud often, just to hear a voice. "Today, I will fix the roof," I would say, or "Tomorrow, I will build a shelf." It made the silence easier to bear. When I felt lonely, I climbed the hill behind my house. From the top, I could see the whole island, the beach, the forest, and the endless sea. I looked for ships every day, but none appeared. The horizon was empty. Still, I made a habit of checking. Hope kept me alive. Weeks passed. My hands grew hard from work, and my skin turned brown from the sun. I learned which fruits were safe to eat and which made me sick. I learned how to make fire faster, using a spark from the gunpowder and dry grass. I even began to plan a small garden near my fence. When heavy rain came, I stayed inside, listening to the drops fall on the roof. Sometimes I read from the Bible I had found on the ship. The words gave me peace. "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want," I read aloud. I felt that God was truly with me. One evening, as I sat by the fire, I thought of my father. I saw his serious face and heard his voice. "Stay home, Robinson. The sea is dangerous." I had not listened, and yet here I was, alive. I whispered, "Father, I was foolish, but I am learning." I looked around at my house, my tools, and my fire. I was alone, but not helpless. I had built a life with my own hands. The waves roared in the distance, and the forest whispered in the dark. I closed my eyes and said softly, "I will live here. I will not give up."